And now, your reigning, defending, greatest wrestling podcast of all time. This is Let Me Book the Territory, the podcast for smart marks and nostalgia nerds. Featuring A-Dub.
On site, and it's on site.
B.A.
How can the heel heal off on the heel when the heel is healing?
And E-Ray.
No wrestling moves. Just hands. Just hands.
Bye-bye. The Embrace.
I don't even know how to start this.
I don't either.
Guys, we are back a little earlier than expected, but we got some business to take care of, so this is for a reason. This is Let Me Book the Territory. Again, the greatest wrestling podcast of all time. Would love to be here on a brighter note, but the news literally just broke, and this means so much to me and the fellas, so really need to kind of decompress and take some time. I'm sure by now, if you're hearing this, the news had broke that Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, has passed away. I'm still, and forgive me because I'm still kind of at a loss. It's something that, again, for me is very, very fresh and very heartbreaking, honestly. So I'm just trying to process that, and I figured this is one of those weird times in wrestling where the passing happens, and it's not somebody that's had a super full-on career that's been out of the scene for a while, but somebody who's still kind of pretty much in the zeitgeist, one of the most creative minds. There was a son, a father, a husband, and it's just rough. But with me, I have the wise man Sean from Fourth Rope, at the tribal chief A-Dub, and we got Mr. DiBiase himself. We have BA. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know. Is it just me, because this really just kind of hit extremely hard for me.
It's it's just a shocker. I can't remember. I remember the last time someone very active in wrestling passed and how I felt. Obviously, way different circumstances. But then, to think about, we were just talking about this guy's return, and everything I've heard about Bray, from a backstage standpoint, is he was just such a great person. So people were upset when he lost his job the first time around. People were so happy for him when he came back, when he announced the birth of his son. So you got the feeling that this was a really beloved guy. And outside of that, when you start talking about the business itself, one of the most creative people I've ever witnessed in wrestling. I remember watching that Wyatt debut when they debuted on SmackDown or Raw, whatever, because I wasn't watching NXT at that point. But I looked at that and I said, "That's special. That's special." And he carried that through his entire run. So for that specialness for just to be gone, and then you talk about the age too. I'm turning 36 this year. That's terrifying to me. And then to leave behind such a young family, the prayers and condolences to that family it's just a sad day for the whole wrestling world.
Facts. I hate when, again, to say the times like this, it's very easy to, think about the I don't know, the circumstances and things like that. I don't want to get into any of that. Honestly, I think respect to the family. I don't want to talk about anything of that nature. What I would like to do, and I think the purpose of this pod particularly, is to, the way I would phrase it, or the way I would frame it would be after the funeral, after that homegoing, and everybody gets to celebrate the person and the memories and the things that they had that was special, right? It's very important to do that because, again, in somber moments, I think laughter and especially in this weird space of wrestling, particularly, it's good to have that type of thing because we've been and recognized so much different types of humor and things that have been given to us by the wrestling community, and only the most absurd things ever in wrestling. So BA, I know Dub mentioned his first introduction to Bray. What was your first introduction or first memory of Bray Wyatt?
As y'all know, it's well documented. I've been in and out of wrestling at the time frame in which Bray was more getting started, more ramped up. The first time I saw him live on my TV was WrestleMania, where he wrestled Taker. That was a WrestleMania, right, when he wrestled Taker. Yeah, that was the first time I saw him, and I immediately got excited. Another reason why to kind of pay a little bit more attention, I was like, wow, this whole gimmick is wild. Like, I've never seen nothing. Well, we've seen things like this. It's been a long time
with Taker and the Mania as well.
And yep, correct. And that's why revisionist history is always 2020, but I took that as like, this guy's gonna be like, kind of take Taker's mantle on the whole darkness and all that stuff. Didn't necessarily happen that way, but I think that was also a good thing. It let Bray kind of spin in my eyes and kind of create his own path of his own legacy that I think is going to be heavily followed now by a lot of guys that are going to be coming up as far as what he was able to do. And I think, and I'm sure y'all got more than likely discussed this a lot on the most recent episode I'm not on, what he's about to do, what we didn't get to see, because a lot of what didn't work well for Bray as far as his character work was when Vince was around. And I can speak for myself. I got really excited knowing he's here, Trips is here, Trips gets what he's trying to do. Bray has the support from like a lot of outside resources in the horror community. Me and E-Ray, horror bros, connect right there with the whole Tom Savini thing. Like, that shit, like, his whole character spoke to everything like I nerd out about horror and wrestling and darkness and weirdness. And y'all know, y'all heard, if y'all have been listeners of our show, y'all have heard my different silly gimmicks around the White Rabbit stuff and letting it build and more joking. Like, I wish like I could, and I'll go back and look at that stuff with a different viewpoint, I think, because I think it deserves different eyes than what I was giving it at the time, in more of a joking fashion, just like, come on, get to it. And I want to actually understand more about what he was trying to do and what we didn't get to see, I guess.
I would hope, and maybe I'm sure it's far too early now, but I will hope in the years to come there is some more information that comes out about the plans for that whole thing. I would love to know the behind the scenes, and maybe that's just me. I love some behind the scenes stuff. Like, I find all the WWE docs and all that stuff very fascinating. So I would love to know like where that character could have went, or the things that they were thinking about that maybe got planned and they had to cut last minute, etc., so forth. Because I think there's not I think everybody mentions it, but it's not enough put on the Bray Wyatt character as the mind that Windham had. The mind to think about these things and craft this larger than life persona, and just like even the intricacies. Like, it was a running joke for a while, but it was like this guy has the ability to just turn whatever he's given into a believable moment. Like, you know, he's not going to win this because the faith there as far as the booking and stuff just wasn't there. But every time you put a mic in his hand,
captivated,
I'm right back in. Like, and it just grabbed me in my place. And he's like, he start doing the preacher voice, and it just and I was like, oh my, I'm just rocking with it. It gives me goosebumps, the energy.
He's got the whole world in his hands.
If you've never been to a show with Bray Wyatt on it, I am so apologetic that you'll never get that experience. It was something to behold in any version of his character because it's such a production. It just really, like, he pretty much embodied everything that wrestling is and everything that wrestling could be. And I love that about the character. Sean, from your perspective, I know you're a bit younger than us. What is your, like, I guess your summary of the Bray Wyatt experience, all from the WWE for you? How did that feel for you coming up? Because I know we have our things we are.
It felt like more than a wrestler. That's like a short explanation for it. He was more than a wrestler.
I love it.
Great minds are very, very rare to come across as far as creativeness inside of wrestling alone. And Bray Wyatt was one of one. I don't know if you can directly compare even anybody to where you got the same feel of just character work, mic work. I don't know, just like just the promo I was even watching on Twitter earlier was the Miss Teacher lady promo. I don't know if y'all remember that one. You should go back and watch it. Beautiful fucking mic work by Bray Wyatt. You got to go watch it.
Remind me.
So
give me a little bit of backstory.
Essentially, the Miss Teacher lady promo was him and the original Wyatt family back when they had like the mask, the goat mask, and things like that. And he's cutting a promo basically about how he has the whole world in his hands now, and this teacher back when he was a child would always tell him, you're not going to be anything, and you know, you got all these conspiracies and things you believe in your head, and everything I believe is false. And then she looked at him and told him, oh, Bray Wyatt, you're the devil, you're evil, and all that. And he was like, well, now she's rotting in a funeral home with the conspiracies trapped in her head with nothing but regrets, and I'm standing here in front of the universe with the world in my hands. It was amazing.
Fire.
Amazing.
I love it.
You got to go back and watch it. But it was just surreal. Like I said, more than a wrestler.
That is poignant, to say the least. I don't think, as you said, there isn't a lot of people that had the type of mic work that he had. Like, they call him a stick man. And for those particular types of people that can just express something so wholeheartedly and so believable that no matter what's going on in their actual character, ring, anything, it's just there for you, and it works. So it's like, I don't care about the match. Just give him more promos,
and
more
he was
Firefly
the best
Funhouse,
like by far. And like, and it was funny because like I remember like when he was like making his big run on the main roster with the original Wyatt family, they put him in this program with Roman, and this is still Can't Talk Roman, and I was like, this is one of the worst things you can do for Roman Reigns.
Yeah, this is
because
bad.
there's one thing that guy Bray Wyatt can do,
Yep.
he can talk. And that crowd was already against Roman, and then Bray Wyatt fed into it and said, anyone but you. And next thing you know, the biggest heel in the country became the biggest baby face. Because we were like, yeah, anyone but you.
Right. Anybody.
We don't care.
We don't care.
And, oh yeah, we love this guy,
Orange
so
Floss.
absolutely.
Anybody.
Why not? And like, you know, it is one of the crazy things about Bray is you look at a guy who has main evented so many PLEs. You're talking about a 2-time world champion, and then you still say hadn't even scratched the surface of what he could have been. Like, and that's insane.
Man.
That just tells you like how special he was. Like, guys, think back at the end of the White Rabbit saga, when he made his return at Survivor Series, he just walked out there and stood in the ring. Didn't say a fucking word. And we were all captivated at home that he had that audience in the palm of his hand. So if he told them to go burn down that city, they probably would have. But like,
Yes.
and like,
yeah, I'm walking.
And you look back at it now, and you're like, I get it even more now because you feel how this person's passing has affected you. This person you've never met, but you've just seen from afar, and you see like how his peers talk about him, and you're like, that connection with people is rare. It is very rare, and yeah, man.
And I want to ask, how much? So I think we've been watching Bray Wyatt for what, 13
Just
years?
about,
I might be a little off in that number. But just thinking about it, like we only got that amount of time, and there were breaks in between. There were certain things like engineered. There was some stops and starts with the booking. Like I think BA mentioned it earlier. Yeah, he was kind of poised to take that Undertaker mysticism thing to the next level. But whether it's the Undertaker wasn't ready to walk away yet, and then losing to Brock Lesnar literally like the next year or so, yeah, that was painful because I to this day held that. And again, I think that is some of the stuff we had to deal with, being so big fans of Bray Wyatt. Like, what is going on in the background that is hindering this greatness? Because we see it every time they pretty much crumble a character of his, and then he
like,
comes
what
up with
aren't
something
you guys
else.
seeing?
And it's like, what?
This is amazing stuff, top to bottom, every single week. Like, I remember when the Firefly Funhouse was going to make its debut, we were all like, what the fuck is this? And then it became the best part of Monday Night Raw every single week.
Yeah.
It was the only watchable thing in Vince's last year on that show.
Then
it was
went to
the only
SmackDown,
thing that was watchable.
and then they start advertising the Firefly Funhouse, and I was like, oh no, Vince likes this now. This is about to be, yeah. And I was like, oh
ratings.
Shit, they're about to do something. And then they had him coming out. So I think we're getting into my next line of questioning, I think, because again, I want to give the flower. So after going through some of the history stuff, I would like to talk about what is your guys' favorite iteration of Bray, of the Bray character. There's been plenty. I would say at least 4 to my understanding. So we've had the Cape Fear cult leader Bray. We've had the Fiend. We've had Fiend / Bray Wyatt, like, I don't know, Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, which
Red
was
sweater,
also just as crazy and awesome. Then we've had the Uncle Howdy experience version.
And we still don't know if that was Uncle Howdy.
Again, why I need to know the behind the scenes. I have to have this, like, in like 15 years or so. Just give it to me. I will still watch it.
I'm sure. I'm not gonna say I'm sure. I'm sorry, but Bo's probably gonna give us a lot of that. I would imagine.
Time.
I would imagine.
Time will tell. I have
don't
no
know for
idea.
sure.
But also early on, Husky Harris. There's that with the Nexus. And
I remember going back and seeing that. I had a lot of questions. I still have questions about that. That will be covered on the BA show.
Keep it real.
Still got questions.
Without Husky Harris, would not have birthed one of my favorite things, which was, oddly enough, the Muscle Man dance. I fucking love that. Something so ridiculous. He just did it, man. So again, I can gush all day, and again, we're here to do so. But I want to go around. We'll start with you, Dub, and we'll kind of sweep around.
Cape Fear,
your
Bray,
favorite
like,
iteration
by leaps and bounds. Like,
okay.
Just the way he captivated with words. And I tell you what, like, if they had booked John Cena to hit Bray Wyatt with that chair at WrestleMania in New Orleans, boy, I'm talking rocket ships to the next fucking galaxy. The stuff he did with Daniel Bryan was amazing. The stuff he did with Randy was awesome. Like, even though it got a little confusing towards the end, it was still good stuff. And I remember watching Bray Wyatt win that Elimination Chamber and pin AJ Styles was another one of those vindicating moments for me as a wrestling fan. It's right up there with like seeing Kofi win the title, seeing the NXT invade Raw and like that SmackDown and that Survivor Series run of, okay, they're listening to us. Me as a fan, I'm not fucking crazy. This shit is awesome. And they see it and everybody sees it and we can all finally enjoy it together. So yeah, Cape Fear Bray, like, just when he started singing, you got the whole world in his hands. I was like, oh shit. Like, chills.
Right. When he's pulling out the phone, they had everybody pull out their phones and they just start doing this. This wasn't like crowd participation or like, let's pipe in some lights and some booze and shit like that.
They just started doing it.
People just started doing it and he just went with it. And I love that by far. BA, your favorite Bray?
Definitely Cult Leader Bray. Even though I wasn't around in the product, that was the Bray Wyatt I always saw kind of taking over. Again, to my point earlier, he made it. He always took his experiences and made it something to matter into the next thing he was about to do. So I get why it didn't stick around forever, but I wanted to see. I feel like that character had a lot of places still to go.
Facts.
In my opinion.
Sean,
it's the Cult Leader Bray. It's always been my favorite, man. And that's exactly what the vibe was. The dude spoke like a cult leader because, like what Dub said earlier, if he told that place to burn the city down, they would have did it. And that's exactly what it was.
Singing.
Exactly. It's exactly what it was. It was freaking flower children off acid just listening to the cult leader, whatever he says.
Follow the buzzards.
Facts.
Oh.
Right. I'm a little split here. I think it's the easiest to go with Cult Leader, Cape Fear Bray. But I have a fondness in my heart. And we talk about character. So I have a fondness in my heart for The Fiend. Because I think regardless of how it turned out and what they did to that character, the character itself was phenomenal. Just the split personality stuff, and then just this evil, scary ass mask. I thought that mask was incredible.
Terrifying.
It's dope. Dope ass mask.
The lantern made out of his own head. Oh my god! And it let me in. Like, I was like, this is right up my alley with just pure evil demon nonsense that I just love, that hits me so. And I'm like, this speaks to, again, another layer of that creativity. Like, that old Bray is no longer here. This is something different. This is something that's deep inside of me. And it was just like, I don't know if y'all remember, like the first couple appearances, and like Matt, I was like, what the fuck is going on? This shit is crazy. And it just, again, mismanaged is what I'll say about his whole career. But still, just getting that on TV, a skin mask like Leatherface, a ladder of your own
champion.
Head. Right.
They had a Fiend title.
And he was the type of character that never needed a title. But especially with the Fiend was could have just been on a revenge tour. Like, just everybody who Cult Leader couldn't beat up and they put over him, Fiend should have just been taken out. And they started playing around that with
exactly
John Cena. And I was like, keep this going. And then they went somewhere completely wonky with Seth and kind of messed it up, and then went even worse after they rectified it, and then went worse again with Goldberg. And I was like, why did y'all do this to me? And again, it's always gonna be booking versus the man and the character. I think his genius was like, man, this has been great. And even the things that he sort of teased, if it would have happened with Bobby Lashley would have been interesting as well, because the Muscle Man dance
I
is again
forgot we
one
were
of my
supposed to get
favorite.
Lashley and
random
Wyatt at
things.
Mania. That
Yeah. And now I wonder,
Yeah.
maybe, why that would have been. But again, I just think this was interesting. So with that said, I want to get into just really quickly your favorite, because we got the favorite version. What's your favorite memory of like promo or match or whatever from Bray? Sean, I'll start with you.
Off the top,
take
it was the entrance after he won the WWE title for the first time on that Raw the following night. I don't know if you remember that, but he held the lantern right by his side so it glowed off the title.
yeah.
And people were going fucking nuts. Like it was and then he cut a generational promo after about how he's finally got it and the time is his. It's something, I can't remember what term he used, but it was basically Wyatt's time, and it was the shit, because you're still on the high of him winning that title, then to come out with the Wyatt family and with the Fireflies with everybody in their phones around and shit like that, cut a generational ass promo like that. It was great.
BA.
This is favorite match or favorite moment? I
Moment.
just want
So
to
it could
clarify.
be match or
What does it matter? I mean, it's easy. I was digging in the Wayback Machine in my brain. I can't think of anything that's not over more with him in my mind than the Firefly Funhouse match, considering what was going on at the time. This is Thunderdome era. You got WrestleMania happening at Full Sail University. So they literally took the definition of making chicken shit into chicken salad with that whole presentation and making it captivating. Talking about it with the fellas earlier, just as the news had rolled out, I'm gonna quote Dub, like he said that he didn't know what the fuck was going on when he saw that originally, but he let it sit, he let it simmer, he went back and looked at it, and he's like, yeah, that was good shit. To Puppet Vince's shout out to Puppet Vince. So that was next level, like the stuff they had Cena doing, the story within it, like to your point, E-Ray, the Fiend starting to come back and take niggas out that did not do
just
cult leader
X's
Bray
on the
Wyatt
picture in the
that
background,
as-
all the rabbit holes that it just sent us down, conspiracy
Oh.
land.
That was fun.
It was a
Man.
beautiful
That was
time.
fun.
I'm not gonna lie. It was, and John Cena
Man.
teasing the NWO
Man,
heel
oh, man.
turn, and it. Oh my God! It was.
I loved it. I watched it just for the buffoonery
It's
in
by
it, man. I
far
love all
my
of it.
favorite pre-recorded match, and then the second one
Oh,
being
easily.
The
Undertaker's last
Boneyard
match.
match, yeah.
That
Yeah,
yes,
that played like
one
a
and
short
two,
film.
and believe me, they've done a few,
Yeah,
but those are the ones that are
Oh, we've
that
seen
matter and the ones that count.
correct. The OGs.
Dub,
So I think about the entrances so much. Like the entrances, they grab you because the lights are out. This music is creepy as fuck. I think about the one he did at WrestleMania in New Orleans, because the people of New Orleans are an exceedingly rhythmic people, if you will. They got that clap going. They got all of their lights out, and you were like, "Oh yeah, this guy's over." And New Orleans is close to the swamp, so it fits his character. I think about that. I think about the entrance, the return at Survivor Series, when like you were like, "Oh, I can't believe he's back," and it was just amazing. And then the last thing I think about his promos against John Cena, when like, it's towards the end of John's run, and Bray's like, "You're not the guy anymore. We don't need you. What the people need is me." And like, that was when he really got me. I was like, I love this guy, man. And then he had like the kids around with all the sheep masks on to freak out John. Like everything he was doing in that run, like, and kudos to John Cena for giving him the runway to do it. Because, John's the guy where we can say, yeah, we're not doing that. And Vince be like, you're right, John. But kudos to John for saying, yeah, let's do all of that.
right.
Dude, like so many things.
Yeah.
So many. I could go on for hours about how great Bray Wyatt was at every iteration. Like,
Yeah, I think there's something to love about, and that's another thing that's you can't necessarily say about every wrestler or many wrestlers. Honestly, there is something to love about every single iteration of character that he brought to live wrestling.
Yeah.
Like everyone, there's something, whether it's the entrance or the music or the championship or he was a showman to say the least. And that's why I said it's so sad that to lose him so young, because it's only 36. And as we know in this business, you can have a career far into your 60s. And it's so.
Oh,
so
don't we know it, Ric Flair?
Legitimately, you can absolutely
R.I.P. Funker.
have longevity. So it's just that was so much more to give us on screen, and then also behind the scenes. Because a mind like that, being able to continue in the business and give back to the business, that's another thing that I'm sad about, that he won't have a chance to directly impact future talent. Like, I think his impact will automatically be felt because of some of the things he did were just so creative that I think it's kind of like Tupac said, where it's my impact will spawn something in the next generation. It's very similar. I think you can't go anywhere without somebody recognizing something that Bray Wyatt did and it influencing them in some way, or influencing somebody that influences somebody. I'll say this before I get out of here. My favorite moment, Bray Wyatt moment, had to be Elimination Chamber, Phoenix, Arizona, where I reside. My very first PLE ever, and I remember it for 3 reasons. One, because the shirt, my favorite wrestling shirt to this day, is a black and orange Phoenix Elimination Chamber shirt. I love that shirt. It fits incredibly. Always remember it fondly. I bought it and I was like, oh, this is the shit. 2, Naomi won the women's title. And I was like, yes, this is incredible. And then in the main event, Bray Wyatt got that 1, 2, 3. I lost my shit. I'm like, no way he's winning. I'm like, he's probably gonna get eliminated like second, third, maybe. And then he just kept going. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a second. Like, hold up, it's only I went crazy. And I can recall me and shout out to the homie Enrico the Genius. We were there together, experiencing this moment. It's a heel, mind you, and we popped like this was the biggest babyface Hulk Hogan run that you've ever seen. We just, yes! And Bray held up that title. And I was like, I cannot believe I witnessed history. Like, that was so monumental to me. And I believe that was his first world title. And I was like, man, that's incredible. So, that's still super special to me. Something that I always think about fondly over the years. Like, I can say that I was there because, again, those 2 titles that changed hands on that night, Bray Wyatt and Naomi, meant so much to me, especially at a time where the product was not that great. And for that to happen is like, oh man, it could be a change. So I can't say enough. That is a core memory. It's like ingrained into my heart. Very special feeling for me. Even sitting there, I had fantastic seats looking through the fucking Elimination Chamber, like all the little graded holes and stuff. I was like, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be, but because the shit is over the whole thing. But it was such a good time, such a good match, and the right person won. Man, it's really sad, but definitely think he'll be missed. I guess to close this out, I'd like to essentially think about hard to say, but I guess we can close out with maybe where you would like to see this go as far as him being honored or somebody carrying on some type of legacy for him. I know Braun Strowman is extremely close to him, so hold him in our prayers as well, because Brody Lee passing a few years ago, and now this it's a lot. So I'm just curious, do y'all see this character or something of this being carried on in the future somehow?
Not really. There's nobody doing anything close to like the supernatural type character in WWE right now. Like, and I don't know if Braun can carry that character on his own when he comes back. Like, I would just prefer they really honor the guy on Friday and Monday. We honestly would love to hear LA Knight say something, since that was his very last match. We all know LA Knight is a stick guy, and I'm sure he appreciated that moment. Just honor the dude. As his family deals with it and grieves. Get that documentary together and get it together quick, because there's a lot of people that are currently in this country in this country too, but in this company that have a lot of positive things to say about Bray and his mind, and like people that are even in NXT right now who will tell you like the influence that they had on him. So like, just kind of get the tribute going quickly, and like just keep the legacy, I guess. I mean, there would never be another Bray Wyatt. Like,
nah, and to your point of the question, I don't think you'll see anybody trying to do any of that stuff, at least on WWE. I can't speak on behalf of AEW and the House of Black and all that kind of stuff. But
and this is where my original thought was going, where it just kind of came to me as well. I don't know this, but I would be interested, and I think the time would be interesting if down the road one of these children that happened to go into this business, if they were to do something along, and not necessarily even just the Bray character or anything like that, but just bring that same type of artistic integrity to this business, because I think that's another thing that we've lost. We lost that with Brody. He was another guy that really had these interesting ideas about how the business could be depicted when it comes to wrestling and how characters can be dissected, because he was another kind of like cult leader of his own, even when he transitioned to AEW. So, but done differently. So I just hope we see something like that continue, if not through his peers, then definitely through his actual lineage. Anything else that guys want to say before we go ahead and get out of here?
Follow the buzzards.
I feel like, go ahead. Follow the buzzards.
Tell the people you're close with that you love them when you can.
There it is.
I got nothing, man.
And well, for old time's sake, I'm going to be doing a lot of YouTube deep dives and rabbit holes of all the highlights and all the stuff, because it just really brings me back to a great time of when I really love character. So, guys, this has been a special episode of Let Me Book the Territory. We won't let the madness wash over you this time. We'll ask you to let us in. All right. You guys have a good night.